world of Ter'Ra'Mentia. Today we're going to jump back into the class mechanics series before we get back to the level 6 builds. Going forward, dipping back into this series, I want to go through each of the classes and point out some of the unique things that make them what they are. We're going to kind of do these in batches, 3-4 at a time. Today we're going to start with some of the classes that dive into the darker arts. Most of these key features we talk about are going to be things that are baked into the class and unique to them. Please subscribe and follow us to stay up to date for news for our 2024 game being published in hardcover. More news for that will come. We'll let you know how it'll be available online and in digital format as well. So the Nether Touch is a class that has a lot of baked in abilities, a lot of key features to it. We're not going to go through all of them today, but let's get started with the ones that really help identify it. Well, you are Nether touched, and you inherently sense rifts and portals, lesser demons, lesser nether creatures, and summons that you control up to 120 feet away that are not magically hidden. This is a passive ability. You also are granted something called Void Exchange. With Void Exchange, for an action point, you can transfer one spirit or one mana into one mana or one spirit. And it's great for a class that really enjoys being hybrid, using both pools to help fuel their spells. The two pools being spirit and mana, of course. They also have the ability to control up to one summoned creature at a time in their early levels. Eventually, towards max level at 17, you can be a master summoner and have up to 2. These summons also include weapons that you can summon by your side to fight with. But the main feature baked into this class that really stands out is called Tether Soul. And for one action point, you can use the power in your anchor to connect to a target through the void. Targets receive a -1 to defense and take an additional 1d4 void damage from spells or summons that you control. This includes summon weapons as well. So when we say the anchor, we're referring to the fact that as a Nether touched, you got caught in the wake of portals and magic opening up tears in reality across Ter'Ra'Mentia, and you physically got caught in that wake. And this left an imprint upon your body, whether it's on your face, your hand, or maybe your arm somewhere that can be covered up, wherever you like. But this anchor is kind of the source of your magic and what fuels it. So through this anchor, you tether your soul to another, lowering their defense and adding extra void damage from spells and summons that you cast and control. The great thing about that is void damage in Ter'Ra'Mentia cannot be reduced by any means. So although 1d4 doesn't sound like much, it really starts to add up with the other spells and abilities that may also use void damage that can't be reduced. So as an example, at level 1, say you took the Summon Dark Fairy spell. Now the Dark Fairy only hits for 1 void damage. And let's say you can also summon a weapon of your own that hits for shadow damage. Now every time you attack a target with that weapon, you're going to hit for an extra 1d4, and in the same round, when your Dark Fairy hits for that 1 guaranteed void damage that it doesn't have to roll for, it'll do an additional 1d4 on top of that. Now here are some of the key features from the Necromancer. You can inherently sense death, so you can sense spirits and undead around you up to 100 yards away. You also have Spirit Caller, where you can speak to spirits, call them forth, and ask them a certain amount of questions. But let's get to the really fun stuff that we love Necromancers to do. You can summon swirling spirits around you as a shield to attempt to absorb incoming harm. You can gain +2 to your defense for 1 hour when summoning these spirits. You have Rejuvenating Spirits out of combat, performing a ritual for 5 minutes. This ritual calls upon positive spirits that synergize with your body, healing you up to an amount equal to your sanity times level. Shades of Reason allows you to gain resistance to spirit damage. And once per combat, if you suffer any magic damage, you may remove 1 sanity counter. Pushing up towards level 9, you have a Spirit Avatar. For 1 action point and 1 mana, you can summon a spirit that mimics your attacks for 2 rounds. Each time you would hit with an attack, you make an additional one. If it's successful, you deal 2d8 spirit damage with that extra attack. You also can gain Wings of the Dead to fly around level 13. And of course, you wouldn't be a Necromancer if you didn't have the option in your spells and abilities to pick up summon skeletons, summon skeletal mages, and things of that nature. The Necromancer in our game can be played as a pure caster, a martial class, or something in between. They can even make a really good support. Their capstone feature at level 17 is called Essence Transfer, and for 2 spirit and 2 mana, on your turn when in combat, connect your soul with one willing target. You may give or receive up to 2 action points to that target. If you are the giver, you lose those action points immediately. If you receive the cooperator's action points, they lose that amount on their next turn. This is the only class in the game that has this. The only class that can mess with action points, period. Now, it is something that is very useful when playing in a team and with people that want to cooperate with you. When you decide that, it'll be beneficial for you to have more action points on your turn, or it would be more beneficial for them to have action points on their turn. The key feature of the Nightmare Hunter, besides the fact you're plagued by nightmares that can affect you daily, is that you're an alchemist. And each day you get to decide what potions, elixirs, and tonics you get to prepare for the day. The amount that you can prepare increases over time, but this drastically can affect your playstyle. You can be support, handing out healing potions, grounding potions, enhanced speed potions, and then you also have some personal specific ones like Chains of the Hunter tonic, where you open your mind, allowing magic to flow through it from your nightmares to shackle one target in ethereal chains. This target has a -2 defense versus your attacks. You can make potions of brutality, elixirs of magical protection, invisibility potions. The list is large and a ton of fun to use, especially since you get the choice each day of what you want to do and what role you want to fill in the party. One of my personal favorites is the legendary Chaos Potion. You don't know what it's going to do, but you're going to roll on a table to find out. The other thing is that all of your concoctions grow over time, and you learn to make them more potent, where you may only need to drink half of one to get its full effects. Nightmare Hunters can also excel against demons, trying to fight back the nightmares, dealing extra damage, and finding ways to cope with their sanity. This is truly a unique class out of our 18. They all are, and I love how each one stands out individually, which is the biggest reason I wanted to make this series. The last class we'll take a look at today for its key features is the Shadow Step. This is a finesse-based class that doesn't have a whole lot of health and is very assassin-y. For all of you that like to lurk in the shadows out there, this is the one for you. They receive bonuses to combat damage when flanking enemies. They also have Live in the Shadows, where they don't suffer a penalty to awareness checks and attack rolls in darkness and magical darkness. And they see normally in the dark up to 30 feet. They are great at disappearing when they have the ability Untraceable, where they can, for one action point and one spirit, conceal any trace of themselves and attempt not to be tracked. Enemies have a -6 to tracking against you. This spell lasts for 15 minutes. They also are given a specialization called Underworld Network. This can help you find jobs of the more dubious nature, or find out information that could be greatly needed for your party. Shadow Steps have sharp minds and deft hands. They can gain +6 to memory checks and +6 to thievery checks. They're also one of the few classes that has access to the dual wield mastery feature. The other thing that really stands out about them that pairs well with their ability to see in the dark is they can create darkness and teleport within it as well, helping them get around the battlefield and do the flanking damage that they like to do. They can be good at range, they can be good up close. They can be great at throwing black daggers at range, locating magical traps, or poisoning. At higher levels, they even have the option to summon shadowy clones of themselves that can prowl around the battlefield as a decoy, dealing damage. So these are some of the key features from classes that use some of the darker arts in Ter'Ra'Mentia. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at them, and we'll see you next week in the world of Ter'Ra'Mentia.